Welcome to In the Zone. We have an exclusive scoop with Tony Bellew. I'm here today with Tony and Dave Billows, and I'll be talking to Tony about some exciting filming that he's doing in the United States. That's all to come.
But I want to take you back to the beginning, okay. And you know, we had a quick chat in there and talked about your early age and how you actually got involved in kickboxing from an early age.
Yeah, I started off with kickboxing. That was under the tutelage of a guy named Bellew, who was a very, very well established kickboxer at the time, the best in the world, #1.
Yeah.
And I started with him, and then kind of, I wouldn't say outgrew the sport, but punching came to the forefront, and that, I found that was my strengths, and there's not much punching allowed in semi-contact kickboxing, even at a high level. And as soon as I found boxing, you know, that was the end of it for me.
And you said as well, interestingly enough, your first 3 opponents, you actually punched them out.
Yeah, well, the last 3 opponents, that's how I had to leave kickboxing, because I was disqualified on a number of occasions for knocking people out with a head punch.
Wow.
And like I said, semi-contact level, that's just a big no-no, and I had to move on. And Alfie's suggestion was straight away was boxing, and I was off to the boxing gym.
So that took you to sort of 16, 17, where you really took boxing to another level.
Yeah.
At 17, I think you found yourself as you know, you wanted to take boxing. I understand your dad played a major part in that career pathway. Yeah,
he did. My dad was always a very, very important influence in my life and the decisions and the choices that I made. I left school with a couple of qualifications, but that was never going to be my strength. You know, the classroom was left behind, and you know, fighting came to the forefront, and boxing, most importantly, became the avenue that I wanted to go down. And you know, I found myself doing, you know, end-to-end jobs. I was a lifeguard for 18 months with Liverpool City Council in various sports centres, such as Everton Park, Peter Lloyd. I worked a little bit at Picton Baths. I went from that to nightclub security. I went from there to a pillow factory, and then all of a sudden, you know, I found myself boxing for my country and going around the world representing Great Britain.
That's fantastic.
It's been a long, hard path. I won my first ABA title in my 16th amateur fight. I was the best in Britain in 16 amateur fighting. You know, I was fighting guys who'd been in the Olympic Games, guys who boxed for the country numerous times, and I was beating these guys after 16 amateur fights. So
that's incredible.
I made great strides very, very quickly in the amateur game, and I'd say, you know, I was very, very fortunate and very lucky to have the backing of Liverpool City Council, because you know, I had somebody called David McElhinney and Paul King who were right behind me at the time. They gave me funding through Liverpool City Council. They put me on something called an elite scholarship, where I go to work 3 days a week for Liverpool City Council as a trainee accountant. I go to college 1 day a week, and the rest of the week I'd be living in Sheffield as part of the GB elite performance squad.
Right.
And it was, like I said, it was a long trip, and all these people that have played, you know, factors in my career, and I've played a part in where I've got now, so I'm very grateful for that.
And of course, Beijing 2008, the Olympics, that must have been a temptation for you. Obviously, from turning to a pro and not being eligible, but was it ever in the mindset that you thought, well, you know, one Olympics, it should be fantastic for me, or?
Well, I went to 2007 European Championships, and my mind just wasn't there, to be totally honest. I'd had fallings out with the head of the coach at the time, the head Great Britain coach. His name was Terry Edwards, and things just weren't right for me, and I was promised things that weren't delivered. And then it's always hard on the international setup, because you know, your face has to fit, and you know, the main hierarchy of the GB establishment was very southern. It was very London based and stuff like that, and you know, they had their favourites and they chose the guys they wanted, and it was just as simple as that really. My face didn't fit, and you know, once again I had too much to say, and and too much to do, to be honest.
So that took you then to the professional career, and you know you came through the Rotunda to gym in Liverpool.
Yes.
And we were talking before about your first coach, Jimmy Albertini.
Yeah, Albertini.
Albertini, and of course sadly he passed away quite early on.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
How did that affect you in your development as a pro?
Listen, if it wasn't for Jimmy Albertini, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that's
right.
The best way I could say. You know, he made me realise the importance of being prepared when you box, of the importance of training, and how dangerous actual professional boxing can be. And like I say, if it wasn't for Jimmy Albertini, I wouldn't be where I am now. I'll be forever indebted to Jimmy Albertini, the Rotunda ABC, the club he made, the club he started from scratch. And like I say, I'm forever in his debt, and for Jimmy Albertini, I am where I am today.
So coming on to the Nathan Cleverly fight,
yeah,
great result, Tony. We were all behind you, of course, and the whole country and beyond were fixated on that fight.
Yeah.
What can you say about? You hated the guy going in. You hated Mr. Cleverly going into the fight. How do you feel about him now?
It's the exact same.
Exactly the same.
It's never changed. So what you see on TV is what you're getting in real life, and it will never ever change. I don't like the guy. I can't stand him.
And obviously that spurred you on clearly in the preparation, and of course everything that was said on television. That must have been it must have drained every ounce of adrenaline and aggression.
Drained every bit of life out of me, and you could see it in that 12th round. I looked like I was falling apart, but I found a way, as always. You know, I dug deep, and I just keep going and going. I've got a great conditioner in Dave Bellew, and a great boxing trainer in Dave Caldwell. And the two Daves drive me into fantastic shape. And you know, what you've got to remember is I outlasted the biggest cardio machine in boxing. He is known as the biggest fitness guy in boxing, the fittest cruiserweight in the world, the guy with the insane work rate. Well, I outworked the guy.
I mean, I'm not a boxing expert, but after 6 rounds, maybe even earlier, he wasn't there. He wasn't there. And that was, speaking with Dave, he took a lot of pain. And of course, it takes time for that pain to kick in. But his support and arm was just not...
It was just man v boy. You know,
it was, Tony,
man v boy from round 6. But it's just really disappointing that he didn't want to put it all on the line. That's the biggest disappointment for me. He didn't want to put it all on the line. He was scared of getting knocked out, basically. And that's going to live with him forever. It's not going to live with me, because I'm the guy who went in there, won, put it all on the line, and done everything could. But he's going to be the guy who says, well, you've done absolutely nothing, you didn't even try, you just went in there to survive. And like I say, that will stick with him for a long, long time. He'll be remembered for that fight for the rest of his career. Yeah,
and likewise for you now, we can go forward, and we say we, Liverpool region, Merseyside, but for Tony Bellew, world title contender, it's got to be absolutely right up there now in your mindset.
It is. That's where I'm at next. That's the next stage. Is a world title fight. I've got all the world champions calling my name, because you know it makes sense to fight me. You know, there's good wages on the line, and I seem to be quite a name in this division. So you know it's nice to be getting called out by world champions, but you know, I have to beat a world champion.
Yeah.
There's no good in fighting these guys and not winning one. I've fought for 2 world titles now. One, I believe I deserve to win. And the other one, I was beaten by the best light heavyweight in the whole world, in Don Stevenson, pound for pound, probably the biggest puncher in boxing right now. So, you know, we'll see where it goes from here now. You know, it's up to me to look down each avenue and explore what's the right move for me next. And I'll do that with my team and with the, you know, we'll look at every possible avenue and all the logistics of things, and then we'll go through it there. And
if I said Goodison Park to you, what flags up for you if I said Goodison Park?
That's the dream. That's the dream. You know, that's the final goal. Boxing at Goodison Park under the lights on a summer's night. Yeah. That's the dream.
Now, just moving away from boxing to a degree, professional boxing, I hear you might be flying off to the US imminently, and of course you've just been out there. Can we talk about anything in reference Creed?
Yeah, we can. Well, I can talk about it. I am going to be in a movie called Creed with Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan. It's an off-spin of the Rocky movie, and Michael B. Jordan is going to play Apollo Creed's son, Adonis Creed, and I'm going to play a guy called Pretty Ricky Porter, who's the champion of the world, the pound for pound king of the world, and we'll just see how it goes. You know, it looks to be exciting times, and we'll see. No, it's due for release late this year, and it's an exciting project and something I'm very honoured to be part of. I could never envision a kid from South Liverpool, you know, being in a Rocky movie.
Do you see this as a real business move for Tony Bellew, in addition to obviously fighting for world titles?
Listen, the most important thing to me in this whole world is providing for me three kids, me three boys, and I'll do that by whichever means possible. You know, by any means possible, I will provide, and I'll always find a way. And this has stumbled upon my doorstep. I'll be honest, I've got no real desire to become a movie star or to become famous, but I have got a desire to give my kids the best lives they can possibly have, and this is going to be a big step towards doing that and achieving that goal. And that for me is a bigger goal. Giving my kids everything I can in life is a bigger goal than me being a world champion, than me being famous, than me being anything else. The most important thing in my life is them 3 kids.
There's a lot of doubters about your boxing longevity, and your old man was the one that said...
My mother never thought I was tough enough.
Yeah, your mother?
Yeah. She was like, no, you're too much of a nice kid to do it. And I was like,
that's what mums do.
If only you realised what I'm like when I'm outside.
So he's obviously doing his job right as a kid, doesn't he? Yeah. So are you going to be a baddie boy in this film?
We'll have to wait and see.
Okay. So the Vinnie Joneses in football, could this be the Tony Bellew route in addition to, I mean, the bad boy?
I don't think I'm a bad boy. I just think I'm a kid. I'm a guy who hasn't forgot where he's from. Yeah. We were still very involved with guys at street level and stuff like that, and just I haven't forgot where I'm from, and very, very similar to my life now. I've still got the same friends I had since I was 9 years of age. I have a very small, selected group of friends, and I've never forgotten any of them, and I always still stay close to them to this day. That is my life. It seems to be my life is being portrayed in this movie to similar extent.
I mean, for the Merseyside region, every time you get into the ring, every time you're interviewed on television, and of course now the pathway that you're taking, you really do put Liverpool and Merseyside on the map. You must feel absolutely inflated with every pride that you could ever imagine. So for you, when you're walking in Liverpool, do you get a lot of attention with reference to boxing? And
I get a lot of attention from normal people, but I always say to these people ask me for pictures and autographs and stuff like that, but the most important thing I say to them is, they say to me, would you mind if I have a picture? And I say, of course I wouldn't mind. Just remember before you have a picture that I'm the exact same as you.
Right, okay.
And I tell every single person the same thing. I'm the exact same as you. The only difference is I get punched in the head for a living and you might go to work 9 to 5. That's the only difference between me and anybody else. So I believe everybody in this world is an equal. What you do doesn't make you. If you're a footballer, if you're a comedian, if you're a firefighter, if you're a nurse, we all have 2 arms, 2 legs. Some of us unfortunately don't, but on the general consensus, we all are the same people. What we do does not define who we are.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I do certainly does not define who I am, because I am no better than you, but you are no better than me. We are all the same, and everybody should treat each person, you know, every individual with the same respect as each other, and that's what I try and tell these younger kids. When I meet people or when they ask for a picture, is of course I'll stand a picture. I'm just as honoured to have a picture with you as you are with me. Like I say, what I do doesn't define who I am, doesn't make me any different than you are. So that's a big important factor to me.
So we've come this morning, you've kindly let us come in, and we've done some filming around you, training with Dave. How does that fit into your schedule then going forward over the next few months? Training and of course filming in America?
Yeah, I train twice a day. So, you know, when Dave's home from Newcastle, I get to train with Dave, and Dave's been a massive part of my training team for the last 4 years. So, you know, without Dave, I wouldn't have the slightest clue about, you know, strength and conditioning, weight management. He's done so much for me. You know, like I say, I have a small selected team. I have Gary, Dave, Bellew, Dave Caldwell, Kerry Kays, and this team that I have around me all have jobs to do, and they all do the jobs brilliantly. And you know, I'm very, very lucky to have the team I have around me. But how will training coincide for the next few months? It's going to be very hard. It's a very, very demanding schedule that I've got. Training twice a day. When I get to the States, it's training 3 times a day. I'll have to do some kind of acting, I'm sure.
It's interesting speaking with Dave whilst you were training, and we were talking. I asked Dave, I said, you know, obviously when Tony's acting in the ring, he must go through some real grueling exercises, and Dave said, actually, to the contrary, the actors are blowing from every area.
Yeah.
However, Tony, being a true professional, he's saying, is that it? You know, obviously.
Yeah, you know, you got to remember, this is what I've been doing since I was 15 years of age, and boxing is second nature to me. The easiest my life becomes is when I'm in a boxing ring fighting. That's the easiest parts of my life. People think fighting in front of 10,000 fans is a pressure. It's not, it's a pleasure. That's the buzz, that's I live for them moments, I live for them times, but the real pressures in life are, like I say, raising 3 kids, and being a dad, and you know, and going away from home to provide a living, and being away from home for months at a time and missing your kids. Now that's where the real sacrifice
And in
is.
America, the family, will they stay?
No, they will be home. Hopefully I can get them out to the States for a little bit of time, but it's going to be tough because, like I say, I'm working. I get 1 day off a week, a Sunday, and I work, you know, 14-hour days while I'm in the States. So, you know, to get my family out there, they're basically just going to be living in an apartment.
Right.
And that wouldn't be nice to family 9 hours, 8 hours to Philadelphia, and then just leave them cooked up in an apartment, 3 kids all day, wouldn't be fair. So, you know, it is really hard, but like I say, you know, we'll just see where it goes.
And your 3 boys, Rocky, do they know anything about Rocky from the early films?
Yeah, you know, I think the whole world knows what Rocky is. If you haven't seen Rocky, then you know you've had a very boring childhood, should I say. But Rocky's huge, he's massive, but at the same time, you know, it's a movie, it's not real life.
Sure.
And you know, that's how this film's going to be portrayed. It will be very, very close to real life, but ultimately this is a movie. This is Hollywood, and you know, this shouldn't be taken into different contexts.
And you're due to meet Sylvester Stallone, I believe, when you go out.
Yeah, no, he's been watching the stuff that I do, and he's very aware of me, and he's seen the choreography work myself and Michael B. Jordan have put together, and he's very impressed with it. So it'll be good to get over there next week, spend some time with him and get to know him, and work alongside him. You know, like I say, a kid from Smith Down Road could never ever have believed he was going to be starring in a movie with Sylvester Stallone. You know, it's unbelievable.
Well, I wish you all the very best. This is exciting times, and a pathway that most would never, ever, ever think that they could ever go down. And of course, your fight against Cleverly was demonstrated your world-class ability. Everybody believes and is confident you can get right to the top. And of course, if you can do that and also carve a career on screen and film, then albeit, and all the very best. But thank you for your time. Thanks for allowing us into your training session, and I wish you all the very best for the future.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tony. Just have been having a great chat with Tony, and he was very complimentary, Dave, about you and what you brought to his training regime. Can you just tell us a little bit about how A, your relationship began, and B, what you're actually doing with Tony?
Well, Tony's always very complimentary towards the work I do, and while I'm really appreciative of it, you've got to understand he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So, no, it's a really nice one to say that. I met Tony when I was working at Everton. He was a big fan, as everybody knows. He came in to have a look around the place, asked if he could use the facilities. I said, yeah, no problem. Came in a few times and then asked me if I'd help him out, give him some ideas. So I started doing a bit of work with him. You know, I'm not claiming any credit for his ascension. It's obviously down to his talent and hard work and dedication that he's got where he is.
From your point of view, to get him to that world absolute top, what are you doing with him at the moment? What are you working with?
I suppose boxing, there's many facets to it, but there are 2 main areas. It's your boxing ability and skill, and it's your physical prowess. And I just get him as fit, as strong, as powerful as I possibly can. So we'll break it down, work out where we can improve, work on his stamina, work on his speed, his agility, his power, and hopefully it all comes together in the ring.
clearly Nathan Cleverly going in was seen as the real stamina, power.
Very, very physically fit fighter. And when Tony fought him in the first fight, it went 12 rounds, and they basically both, you know, put everything into it. And I think Nathan just tipped him in terms of he was a little bit stronger in the last couple of rounds. You know, he had a little bit more energy left. So what you saw today is actually an easy session for Tony. You know, just keeping him going through the motions. Yeah.
So of course, this huge pathway for Tony now in film.
Yeah.
Has he asked you to go out with him?
He's hinted at it, but obviously, you know, it's not my kind of thing. Getting out to Hollywood and working with all these superstars, yeah, sounds fantastic, but I'd rather work in professional sport. You know, that's where I am. That's where my expertise lies. So I'll leave Hollywood to you and Tony.
Do you want action already?
Watch me on The Zone on Bay TV. In The Zone, sorry.
I love it. That's going to be the one we're going to use. Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Watch me in The Zone on Bay TV. Tony Bellew, Monday, 6:30 p.m. Be there or be square.
Sadly, that's all we've got time for on the show. So until next time, stay in the zone.